Well, guys, it's funny. Basketball season's underway. NBA, we're already about 10 days into it. We've got college basketball just around the corner, and I thought who better to talk a little NBA and college hoops than SB Nation's Ricky O'Donnell. He joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And, Ricky, thanks for taking a few minutes and hanging out with us here today.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
No problem. All right, let's start first and foremost in the NBA, and I think maybe the best storyline thus far is the fact that Laker fans are devouring each other, and there might not be any living Laker fans before it is all said and done here. We've got the Kobe Lakers, we've got the LeBron Lakers. Man, is it too much too soon with this organization? I mean, are Laker fans, are their expectations just all out of whack here?
It's really beautiful, isn't it? Already you've seen when LeBron missed those 2 free throws the other night, Lakers fans were tweeting, Kobe would never. Meanwhile, of course, Kobe Bryant has missed some clutch free throws before in his career, too. These Lakers fans just latch on to the legend of Kobe to such a significant degree and are always pitting him against LeBron. It's going to be a fascinating dynamic to see how that plays out because the Lakers fans don't seem to view LeBron as a quote-unquote true Laker. Meanwhile, LeBron on the other side is saying, hey, I signed a 4-year deal here, while meanwhile the last few years in Cleveland I was playing on a 1-year deal. So LeBron really did make a commitment to the Lakers. I think it's really just a byproduct of this 0-3 start. There's no doubt the competition in the West is going to be one of the greatest challenges of LeBron's career this year, whereas it seemed like he had an easy path to the NBA Finals every year in the East. In the West, it's going to be tough for this Lakers team just to make the playoffs. They're going to need some significant improvement out of their young guys, starting with Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram. Also, you look at their veteran free agent signings, Rondo, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee. The money they gave to those guys, I think, would have been a lot better spent on someone like Julius Randle, who they let get away to the Pelicans. He's had a really strong start for New Orleans. The Lakers just have a lot of problems right now, and, it's going to be up to LeBron to win those fans over, and I can't wait to see if he can do it.
And I know a lot of talk also, when you start 0-3, Luke Walton, I mean, I feel terrible for this guy. I think he has the makings. He can be a pretty damn good NBA coach, but he's part of the other regime. This isn't a magic hire. Does he make it the year? Do you think Luke Walton long-term is the guy for this job with, like you said, LeBron made the commitment 4 years. Can Luke Walton survive 4 years with LeBron?
Probably not. I mean, ultimately, it's going to come up to what Magic and LeBron want to do. Remember, LeBron basically got David Blatt fired after Blatt took him to the finals without Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving that 1 year. And LeBron was justified in that because Ty Lue won him a title against the 73-win Warriors team. So I bet that Luke Walton is probably under a massive amount of pressure right now, and it's going to be really hard for him to keep his job. But there's nothing else he can really do besides for put it all in LeBron's hands, let him run the show, and hope these young guys develop a little quicker than they have been so far.
And also Ricky O'Donnell joining us, SB Nation, NBA writer, also covers college hoops. So far, the offensive numbers are just off the charts, Ricky. I know they had some rule changes that have affected maybe the scoring, but really we're on a record pace with the amount of points being scored thus far in a week and a half of NBA action. Are you surprised on how many points are being scored right now?
I am surprised. I mean, I can't remember seeing NBA games played in the 140s, which seems like it's the norm this year. I do wonder if it's sustainable, but really I think it's a byproduct of the Warriors' influence. It took teams a few years to catch up to Golden State. Now you're never going to be able to copy the current model of Golden State, which is Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. That's just too much top-end talent for anyone to be able to copy or comprehend. But really what they're trying to do is model the early Warriors years, the 73-win team, the first team that won a title the year before that. In terms of pace and space, jacking threes everywhere. I mean, you see a team like the Raptors taking 43-pointers. I think the Jazz took 46 threes against the Warriors the other night when they lost on a tip-in at the buzzer. So this is the way the league's going. 3 is always going to be worth more than 2. So that's the simple math equation at the heart of the NBA right now. I don't really think it's going to change too much, but these games in the 140s played at this frantic pace. There's no doubt basketball has evolved. overnight, more dramatically than anyone could have anticipated just over the last couple seasons.
Yeah, no, it certainly has, and a lot of eyes have been on Blake Griffin. New city, new team, new uniform. He comes out last night. He drops 50, just a total offensive explosion. I don't know that anybody thought that Detroit was going to be a contender this year, but certainly early returns with Blake Griffin and what they've been able to do with this team.
You know what jumped out to me about that Blake Griffin game? 5 of 10 from three-point range. If I would have told you 5 years ago that Blake Griffin took 10 threes in an NBA game, you would have looked at me like I was crazy. That just wasn't part of his game. If anything, he was stretching the floor from the mid-range only. It's just a byproduct of this era. These big men know they need to stretch out the floor to stay with the league and adapt with the changing times. Griffin is a prime example of that. He's still only 29 years old. He's not the same absolutely elite athlete that we remember early in his career, but his skill level has always been really underrated. I thought he's a very good passer, ball handler. Now he's added range to his jump shot. The East is so wide open that if Griffin can keep this up and if Detroit can actually get something out of their point guards, they could definitely be a factor in the Eastern Conference playoffs, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you can't – we all knew Toronto was going to be good, but Detroit, Milwaukee is certainly going to be there. Boston, I mean, there is the East is – it's got some competition, but for the first time in forever with LeBron being out west, the East, there are some teams with, with some possibilities that who knows. We could be looking at a totally different team outside of Boston or Toronto in the finals this year.
The East is going to be really fascinating. Obviously, LeBron going west opens it up for everyone else. I still think this is coming down to Boston versus Toronto. Boston is sort of that premium example of how to copy the Warriors, getting wings when everyone else was loading up on big men, making sure their guys could defend and shoot from all 5 positions on the floor. On the flip side, you have Toronto. I think this Toronto team is absolutely loaded. They won 59 games last year, upgraded their best player from DeMar DeRozan to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi's looked great so far at the early start of the season. Toronto could even make another move. I wouldn't be surprised if they chase Jimmy Butler just to go all in on this season. They know they only have 1 year of a commitment from Leonard. That team's got a lot of depth. They have a ton of shooting all over the floor, and they got two-way guys everywhere, dudes who play both ends of the floor. I really like that Toronto team. I think Boston's the favorite in the East, but Toronto's got a really good chance to upset them.
Yeah, no, you never know what's happening. Ricky O'Donnell, SB Nation, joining us. And Ricky, are the Denver Nuggets the best team in the NBA nobody's talking about?
Denver's phenomenal. I don't know if I'll go that far, but I will say that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA no one's talking about. He's probably a legitimate top 10 player at this point. We just saw him post a triple-double where he shot 11 for 11 from the field. This guy's unreal. He dominates in a way that we haven't really seen in this era of NBA basketball before. He's an overweight, slow center who doesn't really look like a basketball player by any normal standards. But, geez, his skill level is just so incredible. He's one of the truly great passers in the league at 7 feet tall. He can stroke it from anywhere on the floor with his jump shot, and his IQ is just off the charts. So, if you're looking at NBA players who are emerging superstars this year, I think Nikola Jokic is the first guy you got to look at. His level of production just demands it at this point.
Yeah,
he's in that status.
Absolutely, and there's going to be some fun times to watch this year with that team. And also out of the gate, I mean, listen, we know when you're dealing with a 7-footer in the Pelicans, and you've got to deal with just that monster that Anthony Davis is. We know he's going to get his, but maybe surprising enough is what the other pieces around him are starting to do. I mean, they're averaging 140 points a game. I mean, give me a break.
Love the Pelicans. Think the Pelicans are totally legit this year. It really started last season with their trade for Nikola Mirotic coming over from the Bulls. Mirotic has been a stud since they got him. He's averaging close to 30 points a game at the early start of the season. He's someone who gives them that spacing component with Davis that they didn't have before when Davis was playing the nominal power forward. Now they slide Davis to center. That was the obvious move all along. It took them too long to realize that with Davis at center and Mirotic spacing the floor out to 3 next to him, this team just has a lot of offensive firepower. You look at the backcourt, they added Elfrid Payton this year to take the place of Rajon Rondo. He's been a pretty good, productive player for them. Drew Holiday's stud. He's one of the most underrated guys in the league, I think. Etuan Moore, good bench guy. Only problem with the Pelicans, do they have enough wings to compete? It's been the problem with that roster for a few different years now. wing is the single most important position in the NBA. They might have the weakest crop of wings of any of the elite teams in basketball right now. With that being said, when you got Anthony Davis, it can tend to mask a lot of problems, and I think that's the formula they're going to be rolling with throughout the year.
Are they going to be forced to choose between Julius Randle and Morotic before the end of the year?
Well, right now, Randall's coming off the bench, and he's killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 25 last night. I think that he's perfect as a third big man. They only gave him the mid-level exception, so there wasn't like a huge market for him, despite, the reputation he had coming into the league through the draft. I think that, that signing was really inspired by the Pelicans, and I can't believe the rest of the league just let him nab Randall on that contract.
Yeah, no, exactly. But you know what? That's it's working for them, and it's been a fun start to the NBA season for sure. And just around the corner, the college basketball season getting ready to take center stage. And joining us via the Miami Acura hotline, Ricky O'Donnell, SB Nation. He covers the NBA as well as college hoops. And Ricky, the big story all off season has been this, the FBI investigation, and everyone's fingers are in the cookie jar. And what do you think, Rick? I mean, what is ultimately going to be the big storyline coming from this investigation? What are we going to see? What is everyone going to be talking about?
The actual trial, what is being played out in court right now, is kind of insane. I don't know if a lot of people realize it. It's two Adidas executives and an agency runner who are currently defending themselves. And what the prosecution is trying to prove is that universities were defrauded by these men, meaning that the universities were working within the strict confines of the NCAA rules to play fair, and that these guys were going behind their back and paying players under the table. It's an absolutely ridiculous concept that anyone with half a brain could sniff out before this even went to court. To me, the real intrigue for the trial is just all of the details that come out. Today we saw Kansas basically suspend Silvio De Souza, one of their better big men, whose name has been popped up throughout the trial, getting money from Maryland, also getting money from Kansas and Adidas. So I think the details are what's going to be really juicy, even if the verdict doesn't really matter. Obviously the universities were not defrauded in this. That's an insane concept. There's been a black market in college basketball for 60, 70, 80 years. It's because of amateurism. As long as the players aren't allowed to get a piece of the pie, there's always going to be a black market. So to me, it's what details are going to come out during this trial, and then how will the NCAA punish them? That's what's going to have a bigger impact just on the sport this year and in the future.
Are there any of the big blue bloods in serious trouble here when it all comes said and done? I mean, the Kentuckys, the Kansases, the Louisville, we already know their issues there. But are we looking at some serious sanctions being handed down to some of these blue blood franchises?
You never know. The NCAA drags its feet on everything. Their discipline is so uneven, and really all of this is so stupid because it's the NCAA's fault in the first place for clinging to amateurism, which everyone agrees is an outdated model. It's tough for me to sit here and say what the discipline is going to be, but I wouldn't be surprised if the NCAA does, swing a big stick and levy some punishments here. We already saw Kansas, lose to Souza today. He was going to be a key player for them, so we'll see what else comes out, but I would not be feeling comfortable right now if I'm a Louisville fan, a Kansas fan, or any of the other programs primarily involved in this investigation.
It's going to get fun. A lot of drama. It is officially basketball season, both NBA and college getting ready to go underway, and nobody better to follow than Ricky O'Donnell, the SB Nation. Make sure that you guys check him out at SBN_Ricky. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Always some great stuff. And Ricky, a pleasure talking to you, brother. Thank you so much for taking some time. Look forward to doing this again, man.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
You got it. Ricky O'Donnell, SBNation.com. Make sure you guys check him out.